Okay, so first and foremost, you need to make sure that your horse is listening to you and paying attention to you at all times. I think a lot of people, one of the main things that they want to do is pull a horse off a barrel. And when you do that, you kind of get a horse that wants to hollow out, or you get them where they're running up the pin and they're slicing and dumping at barrels. So if you have a horse that's like basically wanting to cheat you, I'm going to go through each barrel. If you have a horse that's wanting to slice and cut off this barrel, a lot of people want to break them in half and pull them out like this. And really all you're doing is you're losing your shape on your horse. One thing that you can do, and it's less is more, is make sure your horse is paying attention with less pressure. In a run, you're going to have more pressure on your horse than you will probably any other time that you're doing any kind of slow work. So I would make sure that your horse is listening to you. And when you can go and lope your horse through on a loose rein without them cheating you, you know that you've accomplished what you're trying to accomplish, or at least getting closer to it. So like if your horse is slicing and wanting to get to that barrel, one thing that I would do is take your horse around the barrel. Make sure they don't need to be picked up like this, because all that's doing, see, it's creating more pressure and he's uncomfortable. You want your horse to realize like this is a safe spot, this is an okay spot, this isn't a spot where you need to be uncomfortable or worried about pressure. And get them to where, like I can push this horse out with very little pressure. I can push him a step here, a step here, and if I want him to go back to the barrel, it's very little. So it's not necessarily about your horse being, super soft or super broke in the face. It's more about them listening to your body and what you're doing. So leave your room going in. So you don't want your horse, if your horse is already cheating here, if you're taking your horse here and you're going back over here, then you're really not doing your horse any good. You're just going to make it worse. They're going to lean on you worse going through the turn, and then you're going to end up over here and blowing off this barrel. So I would try to leave your horse more room right here, and that way they realize they need to be stood up longer going into your turn. And that way your horse will stand up and not worry about dropping its shoulder and hitting this barrel. On your second, same thing. People always want to go and counter arc these horses off the barrel, push them up the pin. They think this is the solution. Really, all it does is it numbs your horse out on that side, and then they go up, and then they drop. So I try to ride the horses that really want to turn. They might scotch you a stride out, might cheat you, lean on you. It all goes back to that foundation of making sure your horse is listening to you and listening to your body. So those horses, I don't change any of my position. I still ride straight across and just make sure that they're picked up, and I'll squeeze them by one step, just like that. So it's not a big deal. You're not breaking them in half. You're not over counter arcing them. In an extreme case, if you have one that's really cheating you, you can even walk by it and go up and just make a relaxed circle. Doesn't even have to be a big deal. I try not to do this a lot though. I see a lot of people want to reverse counter arc them right here, but when you do that a whole lot, you're kind of locking this shoulder up and getting them to stand that shoulder up, where sometimes they can lock you out and then they get to doing it worse. I try not to do that very much. But really, if you can do this one-handed, take your horse across here to where they're listening to you. And you can also go in here and use some squares around your barrels and keep your horse stood up. So I'll go in here square, take my horse across square. So instead of dumping his shoulder, he's having to hold his shoulder up right now to do the square. You can do this at any barrel too, and it will keep your horse stood up through their turn. So if you have a horse that's wanting to lean and drop, ride him across, take your step by, go straight across. See, now, instead of laying over, they want to stay stood up. And you can still finish your barrel in a straight line. Just like that. Do it at any barrel.